Have you ever noticed how many of the INFJ videos are all about this is the INFJ genius, or all of those traits are INFJ superpowers, and those are the things that people underestimate about us? But the reason why so many videos are titled this way and have such concepts is because we as INFJs so often don't acknowledge our biggest gifts. It's not even about convincing other people. If you yourself really believed in your qualities, if you acknowledged your gifts, if you use them on a regular basis, I promise you, you don't have to convince anybody. Everybody would see it, everybody would appreciate it, everybody would either be in awe of them or they would leave you alone, they would respect you. It is a completely different game. So today, let's talk about 5 secret powers that INFJs rarely acknowledge in themselves, because I promise you, once you start acknowledging them, once you start respecting them about yourself, you start applying them, you will fall in love with all of those qualities. And with that, you will have that much more self-love and self-respect for yourself, and it turns your entire life around. Before we get started, I want to remind you I have an amazing offer for you, an October bundle, the INFJ Epic Life audio guide, and the Below the Radar Above the System ebook. You can get both of them at an incredible price only in October 2025. So check it out through the link in the description. You can also download the free poster on the INFJ Epic Life formula, which is the basis of the audio guide. Number 1, the power of deep seeing. So INFJs are known for seeing people on a deep level, but what we don't recognize is that this is not normal. This is not something that other people can do. And so often we want them to. We think that they can see our depth the way we can see their depth, or maybe like the depth that they don't even have access to. And this is getting us into a lot of trouble. This is actually a more complex problem than it looks like at first sight. Because if we believe that there's nothing special about what we have to offer, that there's nothing special that we can see people deeply, that we can touch their soul on a deep level, we're not even seeing it as something precious that we're giving out. And at the same time, we sort of think like, oh, why are they acting this way? They can tell that, I have good intentions and there's depth about me, and we wonder why they act so weirdly. But the truth is, they don't see your depth. They don't see it. And there are a couple of reasons for this. Now, first off, as I said, it is a skill in itself to be able to see people deeply. This is not something everybody can do. And second of all, because we are such good observers, we're also keeping it very close to heart who we are. We know what gives others away. I've seen people show me their worst sides because they weren't aware of my depth. They weren't aware of what I was able to see. And, that's a good strategy. You don't need to show everybody everything like right away. And very often people reveal themselves to you. But of course, it's important to, set boundaries and to kind of like let them know, listen, I see what you're doing, and I will actually show you how far I'm willing to bring that depth out in order to make you aware that you don't want to mess with me. Because I see things you don't want people to see, and I can bring them out in you. I can be a mirror for that, and that's going to be a very uncomfortable experience for you. So understand that you being able to see people deeply is an incredible gift. It is a skill that you can use not only in your personal life, but also in any kind of business endeavor. It can help you to really reach people and find out what they're really looking for, how you can help them, how you connect with them. And this is not something you should look at like, oh, that's just a soft skill. This is just a nice to have and like a good personality quality. No, this is something that makes you an amazing team member. This is something that makes you an amazing friend. This is something that can make you an amazing asset to anybody who wants to work with you, who wants to spend time with you, whatever it may be. So you have to understand that this is a skill set. This is not something everybody can do. And this is also nothing you have to like give away freely. Just because you can see somebody deeply doesn't mean that you should look deeply. Because the more you look, the more you're going to have understanding and compassion for the other person, when you probably are not having that compassion for yourself. Because this is the downside to it all. We are able to see people so deeply that we sort of forget who we are on a deep level. We're so hyper-focused on them that we just neglect what's going on within us. And this would be all fine and well if the other person would see us deeply, because then we're sort of taking care of each other. But as I said, this is not something everybody can do. So you have to be very conscious of it and use it at your discretion. Number 2, the power of your future vision. So I've talked about INFJ vision, and I really don't mean it from an esoteric standpoint. This is not about, oh, I have like this insight that's coming in and it's telling me how things actually are. Like, this is a topic for another day. What I'm talking about is that we see how a situation could develop. So you see an opportunity at work, and you know that if you tap into it right now and you really lean into it from this perspective, you can create these amazing results. The reason for this is that we're really great at pattern recognition, and we're good at pattern recognition when it comes to being in a black box. So particularly in situations that you've never experienced before. This is not just about, your job. This is also about meeting a person who has a very interesting, internal concept, and you can see the patterns that are just showing up, and you know how that person could develop. This is something we do on autopilot, and we do it all the time, and most INFJs are incredibly good at this. The challenge is to know that this is something we have to value. So often we think as INFJs, I'm not better than other people, so I'm not going to use my gifts to an advantage. I'm not going to use them to get that job that somebody else might apply for, although they have better credentials, because they deserve it more. When maybe it's your way of being able to recognize those patterns that could create immense success for your company, could be the reason why you get hired for the same position, right? It is not just a soft skill. This is something we have to start valuing in ourselves, because if we don't value it, nobody else will value it. If you really look at it from the perspective of, should somebody hire you or somebody else? At the end of the day, what the company is looking for is not, does this person have any credentials? Does this person really show a history of things they have succeeded in? Yes, they're going to take this information, as indicators, but at the end of the day, what they want is a result. What they want is success. What they want is to create profit, for example. And if you know that you, with your skill, can contribute to that in a way that others can't, then you're the best addition to the team. And you have to actually believe it in yourself before you can sell it to somebody else. And this is also part how you should sell yourself, when it comes to other people. Like, please don't get too critical on this word of like selling yourself. This is not about selling out. This is also not about pretending you're somebody else. This is also not about impressing other people. But so often we're actually downplaying who we are. We're making ourselves smaller. We think, if I really lean into the thing that's going to make me stand out, because I know how people are going to react if I do certain things, because I have a future vision orientation, and I'm not doing it because I think the people around me might feel like diminished in their light because you might shine and they're not. They might feel bad about themselves. You might, be at the center of attention when you don't feel like you're better than other people. So why would you put yourself in this situation? We have to let go of all of that. And not only in business situations, but in all personal matters as well. Because of course you're not more deserving of something than anybody else inherently, but you're also not less inherently deserving of it. The point is just who goes for it. There's so many people who are so qualified, who are so established, and I know so many INFJs who have such great qualities. And the reason why somebody else is getting the job, or why somebody is underestimating you and treating you badly, is because we're not willing to actually fight for our skills. To say, oh, I know what I bring to the table. I know who I am as a team player. I know who I am as a friend in your life. And this is something to be valued. And of course, you cannot make people see your value, but you can see that value in yourself. And the more you practice them, and I really mean as in put it into action. So apply for a job knowing that the way you use your pattern recognition can help that company. Position yourself as somebody who can add something unique. When you talk to people, don't put yourself in the position of how you look from their perspective. Really think about, that's how I see this situation developing. How can they help me in this situation? How can they add value to what I'm already, going towards? You're the main character in your life, and they're the main character in their life. And it's your task from your perspective, from your life, to really see, how does this person fit into my life? You're not taking advantage of people just because you start looking at things not from a perspective of what is best for everybody, but you really look at it from the perspective of what do I think is best for everybody, starting with me. Because when I'm at my best, I can also give the best to others. Number 3, the power of emotional alchemy. This is a big one because this is something I personally underestimate still to this day. I really forget how much power I actually have in this area, how many people I have really changed, how many people I have turned around, how many people I've been a mirror to. And I see this with INFJs all the time. We have to start acknowledging that what we're able to do when it comes to emotional alchemy is incredible. That is something that is very scary for other people. That is something that they probably have never seen in their life before. It is something that might hit them out of nowhere. And so we have to acknowledge that, because if we think, oh, it's no big deal, first off, we're going to overwhelm people all the time. Second of all, we're not going to value what we bring to the table. We kind of feel like, yeah, that's just part of my personality. It's just a character trait. It's no big deal. Yeah, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. It is something to be valued. And when I'm talking about emotional alchemy, I mean that you're able to not only see a person deeply, you're able to mirror what they're experiencing on a deep level to such an extent that makes them confront themselves with all the parts that they have been hiding. Because think of it like this. Every person goes through life and we all have blind spots, right? We all have things we don't want to look at. And most of the time on a subconscious level, and we do this as well, we create a life that allows us not to look at those areas. This is a very normal thing to do. This is just human behavior. You have an area that you're ashamed of or that you think people are going to judge you for, and you're probably going to stay away from that area. But when it comes to like the really deep stuff, that's something that at some point you can't really hide from, because it will really be the thing that's keeping you back. You can't say, well, I'm not good with details, so I'm not going to start working in an accounting firm where it's incredibly important to be precise and people are constantly going to show me like how inaccurate something is of mine, right? This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about things like you don't think you're deserving of being appreciated, being loved, being respected if you're not giving everything to another person. You feel like nobody's going to want to be your friend if you're not completely focused on them. I used to be like this. And so emotional alchemy really starts with us being so okay, showing all those parts of ourselves that might trigger other people, knowing that I'm not the reason that they get triggered. All I'm doing and all I'm being is just a mirror of something that is going on a deep level. We are very deep individuals. We have a lot going on internally, and we're not meant to hide those aspects. You don't have to go out and tell everybody about your internal state, but the way I live my life, just that in itself is triggering so many people. I talk to people that I haven't seen in years and I feel they get triggered because they never thought I was going to change this way, that I would, develop the way I did. And it is hard for them because the entire time they put me in the box of somebody who's just weird and different, like not successful. And now they see, oh, okay, she was able to succeed while being herself, without selling out, without like doing what everybody else is doing. And when people are confronted with that, they very often see that aspect in themselves that they have neglected. So emotional alchemy is a very strong skill, and it can trigger people in a way where they shy away from you. I've had this many, many times, since childhood, but it can also help people grow in an immense way. And the more we just recognize, yeah, that's just who I am, we're not going to beat ourselves up over it. We're not going to think, oh, I've hurt another person and like I'll let them alone in the darkest hour just because I was actually being myself and experiencing life the way I love life. And at the same time, the people who are open enough can really have those amazing transformations when they're around us. Number 4, the power of silent influence. So we say as INFJs, we influence people on a very deep layer, and it happens really on an unconscious level. So I look at people that I've known for decades and I see how people are changing, based on how I change. I've seen this with relatives, I've seen this with friends, I've seen this with acquaintances, I've seen this with romantic interests. I just see how people change because I have made it a point to really show up differently. Because if you really show up in a way that's authentic, if you really show up in a way where you're allowing yourself to shine, and I'm not saying you have to put yourself in the forefront of everything, but you're not hiding who you are. What happens is you create this undercurrent, and this undercurrent is there. So people can look away from you, but most of the time, if they've seen something, they can't unsee it. And if they see that you're willing to go against what society expects of you, that you're willing to break out of the mold, they're going to see that there's a way. And because they see that there's a way, and authenticity is proven to be the highest frequency, higher than love. So when you show up authentically, they cannot really pretend it's not there. They can pretend it towards you, but they can't really pretend they didn't see it. When you know something exists, like there's no going back. And so the more you're willing to bring that out, as in it's part of your identity, it's not just something that you keep on the inside and maybe talk to us about in the comment section, but you're really willing to make choices in your life that are a representation of that you're willing to break out of, a position where people could project certain things on you. So for example, they could project that you're a really meek person, but then you choose a profession that actually shows how tough you really are. That is, for example, a choice that you make that makes people understand, oh, okay, I had an image of that person. Now I understand, no, they're actually somebody else. And there's certain truths that once you see them, you can't unsee them. We're not the kind of people that are proactively pushing people on an overt way. We just have such a strong presence on an undercurrent that it makes people change over time. And as long as you trust yourself from the perspective of if you change or not, I'm going to live out my truth. Like the worst thing that could happen is that I live out my truth until the end of my days. I might adapt certain things, but I'm not going to hide from it anymore. And I have in my mind that we had an understanding and, you broke it or you didn't want to see it my way, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter that you're wrong about it. The point is that you're willing to stand in that truth until you see what the other person is doing. Maybe they're going to vanish from your life. Great. Maybe it's going to be that they have a very strong belief about how they see the situation, how they see the world, and that is different than yours. Okay, great. Then we both can kind of have respect for the other one standing in their beliefs. Okay, great. And the worst thing that could happen is that you stand firm in your beliefs and they stand firm in their beliefs, and those beliefs just so not match that we just drift apart, or we actually are able to influence each other on a way where you say, okay, I can just learn from somebody else seeing life differently in a way that I can still respect, because we all know that there are people who have certain beliefs that we just can't respect in any kind of way. And that's also okay. But understand the power that you hold. And it's not something that's going to be evident right away. It's something that people are going to underestimate. It's something that they're going to recognize years later. And it's also something that they cannot deny if they actually look at what's happening. And we have to be willing to stand in our truth, knowing that we win the long game. When you know something is true and it's true to you, hold on to that. Don't shy away from it. Don't hide it. Don't make it easier for other people to live in their delusion. You are a human being who exists. And the way you see the world is just as valuable as everybody else's. And if people can't handle that you can go through life being you, then this is something they have to come to terms with. Don't allow people to silence you just because subconsciously they're not ready to face that truth within them. Let them handle this. If they can't handle, let them get out of your life. But don't make that choice for them by hiding who you actually are and what you're able to change in the long run. Number 5, the power of guiding without control. So this is something a lot of people are not used to, because they're either used to the typical alpha person who's always controlling the room, who's guiding people to an understanding that they believe in, and they don't tolerate anything outside of that. They say, if you want to be part of my team, if you want to be part of my world, then it has to be this way. And you have to see me as the leader, and you're going to obey me, you're going to listen to me, and you're not going to be able to kind of talk to me as if I'm not the boss. And a lot of people are okay with that situation. This is not something where I would generally say, oh, that's a bad thing. A lot of our world is working because hierarchies exist. But we as INFJs typically don't fit into that world. We don't really live in hierarchies. We don't really understand hierarchies like on a visceral level. We do our own thing and we want everybody else to be able to do their own thing. And so because we're able to be outside of the system, we can actually guide people without controlling them. We can show them a way, and we can say, it's on you to decide what path you want to take. You know what's best for you. I can just be a mirror for you. I can be a guide for you. I can be a positive influence for you. I can be a room temperature. I can be an atmosphere. And you can decide if you want to be close to my atmosphere. And when people recognize this, they can come closer to you at their own pace. And this is incredibly important. We as INFJs very often are wondering, like, why do people actually like run away from us or stay distant to us? Don't they just see that I have good intentions? But I'm going to tell you a secret here. I'm going to tell you why people are doing this. Because we're hiding our strength. We're hiding our capacities. We're hiding our arsenal. We're hiding what we're actually capable of. You have to show people where your boundaries are at. Because if people don't see what triggers you, if people don't see when and how you're willing to fight back, they don't know like who they're dealing with. And there's nothing scarier than not knowing what somebody is able to do. They're going to push, they're going to trigger, they're going to want to find out where your limits are at. And this is a very normal approach if you think about it. How can you really assess somebody if you don't know how far they are willing to go? But if you know who somebody is, even if you knew they were a monster, even if you knew they're willing to do cruel things, it is so much easier to really know how to deal with that person because you have an image of them. Yes, it's just a screenshot. Yes, it's not a complete picture, but every single person feels safer when they have more information. We as INFJs are really good at gathering information from other people by just, standing back and allowing other people to kind of like show those parts of themselves, but we don't really do that. So this is how we have to understand that yes, people can be guided by us without control. They can really enjoy this process. It can be of great mutual benefit, but it can only work if you're willing to show your strength. Because only then people can really start trusting you and know that, oh, okay, this is how far I can go. I cannot take it further. There will be consequences for me. And that's when they slowly allow themselves to be guided by you in a non-threatening way that just allows them to find themselves in a healthy and safe environment. If you, on the other hand, are ready to take on the next level in your personal evolution, to take it to the next level, feel and know that you're living your epic life, then get the October bundle on the INFJ Epic Life audio guide and the ebook. It will help you to transform your life. It has helped thousands of INFJs and it is the basis of everything I have really turned around in my life. So I can only recommend this bundle, and in October only, you will get the bundle at an amazing promotional price. Everything you need to know you can find through the links in the description. And if you want to watch another video now that is in line with today's topic, then check out the video you see on the screen right now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.